Hello, this is wmpyr here to talk to you guys about cross training. Okay, first of all, I think a lot of people think that certain styles are compatible, and there are other styles that are just they're not compatible, right? And I tend to disagree on that. I kind of feel like any style can work together. It's really your mentality. Now, that being said, of course, certain styles may be easier to combine, while other styles may be a little bit more difficult. For example, let's say you get a style like karate, and then a style like Muay Thai kickboxing. So Kyokushin Kai Karate, which is full contact karate, and then you combine that with Muay Thai kickboxing. It might be much easier to put those two together than, for example, something like Aikido and Taekwondo, or something like Tai Chi and sumo wrestling, you know. But I believe that that really comes down to the individual. It depends on how flexible your mind is and how creative you are. So if you are flexible in your way of thinking and you have an open mind and you're creative, then you could combine any style together. It really it doesn't matter. Okay, so I just want to get that out of the way, and the next part is I think what most people do is they focus on techniques. So let's say you train in like a Kempo karate system, and you have a ridge hand strike, and you like that. So you grab that technique, and then let's talk about some other technique, maybe acrobatic move from capoeira, and you really like it and you can do it. So you get that move, and then you have the ridge hand technique from Kempo Karate, and then maybe a move from wrestling. So you put those together in your arsenal, and that's how you cross train. Okay, so we're talking about moves specifically, techniques. I think that's very, very common, and I also think that is a kind of a beginner way of thinking. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just uh, it's like the first level where you're just grabbing techniques, you're cherry picking techniques and putting them together to make kind of like your own style. Okay, um, much deeper and a higher level than that is when you start getting methods. Methods is more complex, and it means that you understand the system better. And so let me give you an example for what I've done. And this could be different for somebody else. Okay, you could combine the exact same styles that I'm about to reveal or list right now, and you may combine it differently than the way I combine it. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're different people. Okay, so for me, let me focus on three styles. I've combined more styles, but let me focus on these three for right now. So let me focus on boxing, karate, and Filipino martial arts. Okay, so those three. By Filipino martial arts, I'm really talking about Eskrima, Kali, Arnis. Okay, which is basically the same thing, different names. And then when I say karate, it's more like a broad term. Okay, encompassing, just about every type of just generic karate. Okay, and same with boxing, because like if you look at boxing, the way Mayweather, Muhammad Ali, and Mike Tyson boxes, it's very, very different from each other, yet we just call it boxing. So, just from a generic standpoint. Okay, so the way that I use the boxing method, I train in boxing, and to me, it's a very realistic method. It grounds me. It lets me know um, what it needs to look like in a real life situation, because it's pretty much let's put on the gloves and just go to town on the bag. I mean, how much more real can it get? The only thing more real than that probably is you put on some gloves, I put on some gloves, and let's go. You know, and then how much more real can it get from there? And it's like, well, just go to a bar on a Saturday night and pick a fight. That's the real thing. And that's definitely at some point you have to go more real isn't necessarily better. That's not good training. You end up in the hospital or end up in jail. So real isn't necessarily better. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, in this case, boxing, the training that it provides, it's very, very raw, very natural, very realistic. It's like, dude, just start hitting the bag. That's its strength, but that's also its weakness. But I really like that, okay? So the next one for karate, the training that I do in karate, to me, it really, really breaks things down, okay? And this is, I guess, the difference between boxing and karate is that if you look at boxing, you're going to see people like on TV, people that are fighting on ESPN and stuff. You have to understand that that is a very small percentage of the population. There's a lot of people that train in boxing, but only very few of them get to that level. So we're playing a numbers game. So you get like 1,000 people in the gym and only a few of them get to that level, all right? Whereas doing karate, you could say the same thing, but because the way they break it down, the body mechanics and whatnot, it's not so much a numbers game. It's more so they're teaching you, okay? So it's not like we're gonna make, we're looking for a great karateka. That's not what the dojo necessarily is. It's more so that we're trying to pass on this information the way it was taught way back when. It's a very specific body mechanic that we're trying to teach you. So it's not necessarily they're looking for an excellent karateka. They're just looking to teach the material to preserve it, okay, to pass it on to the next generation, to the next generation, to the next generation. The great thing about that is that anybody can do it and learn it. So karate is broken down that way for the people to practice, and I really, really like that. It helps me examine the moves, and you could even go into like bunkai type mentality, and so you're breaking down moves and you're thinking about that. Now, not to say that great boxers don't do that, because they do, okay, but there may be some things that you just might be missing, whereas in karate, there might be a higher chance that you're actually taught how to do this. Whereas you go to a boxing gym and it's like, dude, just shut up and start training. Just start hitting the bag. They're not going to necessarily every day come up to you and start correcting you and go, look, this is the body mechanics. They may not do that at all, okay? So that's what I like about the karate training. And that was one of the things, like if you look at the karate techniques, like a high block, right? There are some people that do it like a high block. There are other people that say, no, that is a strike. It's not a block. Other people say, no, this is a joint lock. And other people will say, no, this is a pressure point strike. There are all these different ideas about the technique. And then in my own personal training, I somewhere along the lines realized, you know what, it's all of those things. It's not that one is more right than the other, because in a real life situation, whatever you do is it. Yes, the pressure point stuff is the hardest. It's the most difficult to do, but that doesn't make it better. If you're in a street situation, a self-defense situation, and you're trying to do a pressure point strike on the opponent and you get knocked out. Whereas, so let's say you just use the same technique, but this time as a block, and maybe it's not the best block, but you're able to not get knocked out. You're able to prevent the guy from knocking you out. Then it worked. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters in a self-defense situation. So I realized it's all of those things. And then so when I looked at the Filipino martial arts moves like the Heaven Six, I thought, oh, there's multiple ways to do the Heaven Six, just like in karate. So that way of thinking really helped me out. So now let me move on to the last one, which is the Filipino martial arts. And what do the methodology that I get from here is one word. The most important principle that I learned in Filipino martial arts was flow. Flow basically means you become smooth. And so that kind of smoothness you apply to the karate, I also apply to the boxing, and it helps me realize I need to make my body mechanics like this. It needs to flow. It needs to be like running water. So that is a constant reminder, and not just a reminder, technically, using the technique from the Heaven Six, I know my body knows what it's supposed to feel like, how the figure eight goes, how the circular motions go. So I can incorporate that into the karate, into the boxing, and once again, it's cross training. So I hope this helps. Thank you for listening, and take care, folks.